Stop. If you think you can't grow fruit because you don't have sunlight, that's exactly why most people fail. Not because they don't have space, not because they don't try hard enough, but because they've been told one thing that isn't completely true. What if I told you there are fruits you can grow in containers, in small spaces, with little sunlight, and most people walk right past them without even knowing? And here's the part that makes this frustrating. Some of these fruits grow better in pots than in the ground. Look around your home for a second. Balcony, corner, windowside, that space you think is not enough, it might already be enough, but only if you know what to grow and what everyone else keeps getting wrong. Because here's the truth nobody explains clearly. Not all fruits need full sun. Not all plants struggle in containers. And not all gardeners fail because of bad soil. Sometimes it's just the wrong choice of fruit. And that one mistake, it wastes months, time, effort, hope. You plant something, you water it, you wait, nothing. Or worse, it grows but never gives fruit. Be honest, how many times have you tried and quietly gave up? Because in this video, you're about to see 15 fruits that don't follow the usual rules. Some of them thrive in shade. Some actually prefer containers. And one of them, almost nobody grows. But once you see it, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. But don't skip ahead, because the first one is the reason most people believe growing fruit in shade is impossible in the first place. Stop. If you think you need full sunlight to grow fruit, that belief is exactly what's holding you back. It sounds right. Everyone says it. Fruits need sun. But what if that's not completely true? What if the real reason your plants failed wasn't the sunlight? What if it was the choice you made before you even planted anything? Look around your space. A balcony, a window, a corner that barely gets light. You probably looked at it and thought, this won't work. And then you stopped. That's how most people lose before they even begin. Not because they can't grow, but because they've been taught the wrong starting point. Here's what makes this frustrating. Some fruits don't just survive in shade. They adapt, they adjust. And in containers, they sometimes grow better than in the ground. But nobody tells you that part clearly. So you keep trying the same things and getting the same results. No fruit, no progress, just waiting. Now imagine this. What if the problem was never your space? What if it was just one wrong decision at the start? Because in this video, you're about to see fruits that break the rules you've been following. Some grow in low light, some love containers, and one of them almost feels like cheating once you understand it. But here's the catch. If you miss the first one, you'll repeat the same mistake again. Because the first fruit is the reason most people believe shade growing doesn't work at all. You plant it, you water it, you wait, and for a moment, it looks like it's working. Leaves grow, it looks healthy, you feel confident. Then nothing. No fruit, no results, and slowly, you stop checking on it. That's the trap. Most beginners start with fruits that look easy. Strawberries, tomatoes, things they've seen everywhere. But here's the problem. Those plants depend heavily on sunlight. They tease growth but don't deliver fruit in low light. So you think you failed. But really, you were set up to fail. Because nobody told you this. Some plants grow leaves easily, but fruit, that's a different game. Now think back. Have you tried something that looked fine but gave you nothing? That wasn't bad luck. That was the wrong plant for your environment. And once that happens, confidence drops. You stop trying. That's how most people quit. Not because they can't grow fruit, but because they started with the wrong one. And this is where things shift. Because the next fruit does something most beginners don't expect. It doesn't struggle in shade. It adapts to it. This one doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need perfect light. And that's exactly why people overlook it. Figs. Most people think figs need full sun, but certain varieties, they tolerate shade better than most fruit trees. And in containers, they adjust. They grow slower, but they still produce. That's the difference. Not fast growth, consistent results. And that's what most people miss. They chase speed instead of reliability. Because when you grow in limited space, you don't need perfect conditions.
You need the right plant. Now imagine this, a plant that doesn't fight your environment, but works with it. That's what figs do. But here's where people mess up again. They expect it to behave like sun-loving plants. They overwater, they overprune, they interfere too much, and slowly they ruin it. So even when they pick the right plant, they still get the wrong result. That's frustrating, but it gets worse, because the next fruit looks even easier than figs, but fails in a way that's harder to notice. This one tricks people. It grows, it looks healthy, everything seems fine, but behind the scenes, it's not working. Citrus. Small citrus trees in pots look perfect. Green leaves, strong stems, but without enough light, fruit production drops. Slowly, silently, no clear warning. So people keep going, thinking, maybe next time. But next time never comes. That's what makes it dangerous. It doesn't fail loudly. It just wastes your time. And time is the one thing you don't get back. Now pause. Think about how long you've been trying things that didn't work. Months? Maybe longer? That's not just effort. That's lost momentum. And here's the truth most people don't realize yet. It's not random. There's a pattern behind which plants work and which ones don't. And once you see that pattern, everything changes. This isn't about luck or skill or even effort. It's about choosing plants that match your environment. Look at what works. Figs, adaptable. Shade-tolerant varieties, flexible. Slow growers, consistent. Now look at what fails. Sun-dependent plants, high-energy fruit producers, fast growers needing perfect conditions. See the difference? It's not about easy versus hard. It's about compatibility. Most people pick plants based on popularity, not suitability. That's the mistake. And they repeat it every year. Same choices, same results. But once you understand this pattern, you stop guessing. You start choosing with intention. And that's where things shift. Because the next fruit doesn't just survive in these conditions, it thrives in them. Blueberries. This is where things get interesting, because blueberries don't just tolerate containers, they prefer them. Controlled soil, better drainage, more stability. And certain varieties, they can handle partial shade. Not full darkness, but less light than most fruiting plants. And when done right, they produce consistently. This is where hope comes back, because now you're not just surviving, you're growing something that actually works. But there's a catch, a small detail, and most people miss it. So even with the right plant, they still struggle. And that detail, it's what separates success from frustration. Soil. Not just any soil, the right soil. Blueberries need acidic soil. Miss that, and everything falls apart. Leaves turn weak, growth slows, fruit disappears, and most people don't realize why. They blame the plant or the sunlight, but it's neither. It's the detail they overlooked. And this happens everywhere. Wrong soil, wrong spacing, wrong setup, small mistakes, big consequences. Now imagine fixing that. Suddenly, the same plant behaves differently. Stronger, healthier, productive. That's the shift. And now, you're ready for the final level, because the next fruit changes everything. Blackberries. Not the wild ones, the right varieties. These plants are tougher than people think. They handle containers, they adapt to less light, and once established, they produce heavily. This is where it becomes real, because now you're not experimenting, you're succeeding. Fruit you can see, results you can trust. But this comes with pressure, because now the question changes. Not, can I grow? But, did I waste time before this? And that's a hard question to face, because once you see what works, you start realizing what didn't. And that leads to a bigger truth. It wasn't about sunlight alone. It was never about space, and it was never about effort. It was about alignment, choosing the right plant for the space you actually have. That's it. Simple, but overlooked. And because it's overlooked, people keep failing, not because they can't grow fruit, but because they follow general advice instead of specific strategy. And once you see this, you can't go back, because now every choice matters. And that leads to the final question. Chapter 10, the decision. Now you know, the space you thought wasn't enough might be enough. The sunlight you thought you lacked might not be the problem, and the failure you felt might not have been your fault. But here's the part that matters most, what you do next. Because knowing this and doing nothing keeps everything the same. But using it, that changes everything. You don't need perfect conditions. You need better choices. And now, you have them. So the real question is, are you going to keep doing what didn't work, or finally try what does? Because you still have time. but not as much as you think.